What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. We got a short one here, but it is quite funny. As you will remember, on election night, if you was joining me on the live stream, not long after we got the great news that Jo Swinson had lost her seat, unfortunately to the SNP, but losing her seat to anyone was always going to be a bit of good news. Well, BBC host Andrew Neil had Tom Baldwin, the comms director of the People's Vote campaign, or former comms director of the People's Vote campaign, because he was sacked during one of the purges that I actually reported on. And of course, now that the People's Vote has got absolutely zero chance of happening. Not that it had much chance of happening anyway. But with the Tory majority, we now know no chance of a second referendum ever gonna occur. And rightly so, it would be undemocratic. But anyway, this complete idiot sits there claiming that Boris Johnson doesn't have a majority to leave the EU, which is absolutely amazing, and forces Andrew Neil to mock him. So let's check it out.
Who've been here? Let me come back to you, Tom Baldwin. Coming back on the Remain theme, the most Remain party in this election, the Liberal Democrats, are getting nowhere overall. Their leader has just lost a seat. There'll be no People's Vote, which is what you've been campaigning for, and Mr. Johnson has a majority to take us out of the EU.
He's got a majority in Parliament. I don't believe he's got a majority in the country for his hard Brexit.
What does he have to do? People voted for a referendum in 2016 to leave. They've given a government that has campaigned explicitly on leave a huge majority. What else do you need?
We need the permission of the British people, which he
do you think they've just done?
No. He wouldn't dare do that. He wouldn't put his deal to the British people and People's Vote. Instead of that, he held a general election. He exploited a divided opposition. He ducked an interview with you, and he ducked an opportunity to win permission from the British people for his hard Brexit.
Right, well, I don't know how the Tory supporters sitting next to this guy didn't sit there and laugh during that little clip there. I would have been in absolute hysterics listening to first what Andrew Neil read out about the Lib Dems absolutely tanking, and of course, Jo Swinson getting kicked out of Parliament like the Remoaning shitbag that she is. It's actually the one time when you actually want the SNP to win something is when Swinson's seat is up there, considering she campaigned on a policy to outright revoke Article 50. In other words, ignore the decision made by 17.4 million people, which is what makes me so happy that she has been booted out of Parliament. It was almost as sweet as Boris Johnson getting a majority. But you heard this absolute idiot say that he's got a majority in Parliament, but I don't believe he has a majority in the country, which is incredible considering when the Remainers had the majority in Parliament, they said that they spoke for the majority of the people and therefore there should have been a second Brexit referendum. The hypocrisy of this clown is unbelievable. Which of course brings Andrew Neil into saying what does he have to do? Meaning what does he have to do to stop these people remoaning? And let me tell you something. Clearly, nothing. There is nothing he can do to stop these people, as we've seen by the riots, the Antifa dickheads, and of course the Remoaners on Twitter. Sargon of Akkad made a good video about the Remoaners' Twitter outrage earlier on his Sargon Daily channel. So if you haven't seen that, go and check it out. But it relates to this. He obviously just preempted most of what Sargon's talking about because this is election night. But like Andrew Neil said, the people had voted in the 2016 referendum to leave, more people than had ever voted for anything in the history of this country. And then in 2019, Boris Johnson got an overwhelming majority, campaigning solely on the idea of leaving the European Union and enacting what the British people asked for. This complete shitweasel sits there saying that he doesn't have a majority for that. It's absolutely incredible. I don't know how you could have the gall to sit there and do it, but Remoaners, it seems, always manage to go that one extra, don't they? But anyway, let's move on to the next clip because he's not finished there, obviously. This is a Remoaner we're talking about here.
I mean, people will listen to you and think you're in cloud cuckoo land. You lose, but you still say, oh, he hasn't really got a mandate to do this.
Look, I think what we're going to see over the next few weeks and months is Boris Johnson trying to fulfil the many contradictory promises he's made for his Brexit policy. I think, if it comes under the scrutiny, maybe if he has the courage to sit down with you can ask him some questions for once.
Yeah, I'm not the story here. The story
briefly.
The story is that you lost. And you've lost badly.
Yeah,
you keep on losing, and the people have voted again. And therefore, it is, whether you like it or not, it's another issue. It's time to leave.
We're off.
Look, no one's pretending that this is a good night for campaigners for a final say referendum. But the fact
There won't be
remains,
a referendum. There won't be a people's vote now. It's over.
not now. I agree.
I mean, you've been
I agree.
ripping yourselves apart anyway. Couldn't you get fired from it?
Big questions you could ask about what happened in this general election campaign is why Roland Rudd decided to disable the most successful and biggest People's Vote campaign
Because there isn't going to be one.
on the day the election was called.
Remoaner! Andrew Neil hits it right on the head. You're in cloud cuckoo land. You lose, and yet he still doesn't have a majority to do it in their opinion. Before he completely ignores what this Remoaning tit says and goes straight onto the fact that you've lost and you've lost and you've lost yet again. Because of course, that's what Remoaners are only good at doing, it seems. Losing. When was the last time a Remoaner won anything? With of course the exception of the Supreme Court, which happens to be a Remoaner court by the sounds of it. Especially considering they went against all legal precedent at the time. But now the Supreme Court is completely wasted because Boris has a majority, so Parliament is sovereign, they can't do a single thing. He can now do what he wants, as long as his MPs don't stab him in the back, which hopefully they won't this time. I say hopefully because you never know, do you? And I do love the way that Andrew Neil absolutely destroyed his claims that it's not a good night for campaigners. In other words, Remain campaigners and the second Brexit referendum that they were all desperate to get. Because like Andrew Neil says, and of course this Remoaning idiot has to admit, it's not going to happen. You've got more chance of Jeremy Corbyn being elected than there being a second Brexit referendum. And to finish it all off, in true Remoaner style, he blames everyone else but himself, or the fact what they wanted was anti-democratic. This geezer is a complete shitweasel at the end of the day. But once again, Andrew Neil has provided us with a little bit of gold in the way that he mocked this absolute idiot. I only wish that he'd spoke some more rather than these couple of minutes that we got here. But on that note guys, I will end the video there. It was only a short one just to bring you this quick clip. I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I'll see you all in the next one.
This Parliament is a dead Parliament. It should no longer sit. It has no moral right to sit on these green benches. They don't like the truth. Twice they have been asked to let the electorate decide upon whether they should continue to sit in their seats, while they block 17.4 million people's votes. Parliament is a disgrace, but they're too cowardly to give it a go. But the time is coming. The time is coming, Mr. Speaker, when even these turkeys won't be able to prevent Christmas.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.